So we wanted to thank everybody again for coming out to our series. We're doing a series of mental health in the minority community. And my name is Douglas Lawson, commissioner here in Riviera Beach. The reason, again, that we're hosting this series is to bring mental health and mental awareness to our community, the minority community that's underappreciated, that's not looked at, that really doesn't have the attention that's necessary. And we have to bring that attention. As an elected official, my mission has been to actually bring that attention to the community. That's what I'm responsible to do. I'm a steward for our taxpayers. I'm actually a steward for the community, and I'm represented by the community. So I have to do the things that's necessary and things that I see that we need. So right now, our focus has been mental health. And what we're doing tonight is a part of our forum. Tonight, I want to introduce one of my partners. She's actually my co-host, Ms. Issa Allen. And
Hello.
she is the actual therapist. She's our therapist, a licensed therapist, and tonight she's going to actually talk about the discussion that we're going to have. My goal as an individual here in this community is not to be the professional or to be the expert in everything. It's to find the experts within the community and bring them to the people. So that's why I brought Ms. Issa Allen and her panel here to have a discussion tonight. And she's going to introduce what the discussion's about. So again, please welcome Issa.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out again tonight. I am super excited, I want to say, for all the feedback that I've been getting since we first started 2 months ago, on the first topic and the second, which was, I'm not sure, but just in mental health diagnoses and mental health period, the response that I'm getting back, I noticed that we are opening wounds, that people that's been harboring for a long time, which in my eyes, it's something that it's definitely, I know this is needed. It's needed in the community, but I want to make sure that everyone understands how to receive proper treatment and proper therapy through their insurances, or sometimes it's always self-pay, but you can get it through your insurances. And your insurance, if you have insurance, there's something called behavioral health. And under that department, you can call them up, and if you have insurance, they take care of therapy for you, or whatever you need in whatever you're dealing with. A lot of people don't understand, or they don't know that portion. And if you don't know how to get that help, just please DM me or ask me any questions that you may need referring to how to get the help, and I will help you, walk you through it step by step. I've been getting people who have been coming to me and kind of giving me their stories, and I've been trying to help them the best that I can, but it's not true therapy. I totally encourage you guys to get therapy at a long rate or a long time. It's definitely something that should be, everyone's individual. I can't say whether it's 6 months or a year or whatever it is, but whatever issues you're dealing with, it has to be properly dealt with. So with that said, I'm just happy for all the feedback that we're getting. Today we have 3 topics that we're going to talk about, and I wanted to kind of deal with the setup differently than what we have before. So the topics today are bipolar, schizophrenia, and suicide. I'm going to start off with bipolar and just kind of give the gist of what bipolar is, and it's just a mood swing on dealing with the highs in the manic area and then dealing with very depressed lows. The thing about bipolar, and a lot of people are kind of wrong when they sit here and they joke and say, oh, you bipolar, is because bipolar is not something that clicks on and off immediately. When you're in your highs, it's like for a 2-week span or more. If you're in your lows, it's another 2-week span or low. When you have, so personality disorder is something that clicks on and off with your behaviors that quick. So we're kind of getting the two confused. And I'm going to give a little clip on bipolar right now to just kind of understand the mindset of someone who has bipolar.
It was your wedding, the birth of a child, or getting that dream job. What about the most depressing moment? The loss of a relationship, or death of someone important to you? Now, imagine fluctuating between these highs and lows, like riding a roller coaster that feels never-ending. Welcome to reality for over 10 million Americans living with bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a chronic mental illness that causes dramatic shifts between manic highs and depressive lows, affecting a person's mood, energy, and ability to think clearly. An individual with bipolar can seek help and take control of their own mental wellness through a mixture of traditional medical treatment and holistic health activities. Free education, information, and support programs are available. You are not alone. We can help.
So one thing that I want to point out to you guys is that this disorder, when left untreated, it builds other issues, and it just builds like a snowball. And unfortunately, in the minority communities, we don't seek help, we don't identify, nor do we go and get help when it's needed. The stigma in our community is huge. It's especially that term bipolar. Like every time we do something that everyone, everyone's guilty of saying, oh, you're just bipolar. You know, but it's a real disease, and it's something that people need to really sit back and say, you know, break this, normalize mental health. Bipolar, whether it be bipolar, schizophrenia, anything that you're dealing with, don't take it lightly, especially in our communities. Help people to help themselves to get help, because they're already dealing with issues that they don't want to be ashamed of, and you know, by people attacking them, it just puts them in a deeper hole. It actually puts them in a deeper depression, is what you're doing. You know, so just educating ourselves as to what it is, and just helping. If you don't have, everyone has issues, we all have a story. If this is not your story, just help someone else when it's not your story, because we all can be that aid in someone else, even when we are dealing with our own issues. So I'm going to break it up in segments. I'm going to have my first guest speaker on bipolar to talk about it, and then we'll just kind of have a discussion after for anyone who wants to kind of touch on this topic. And I'm going to bring up, you can.
Hello, my name is Alexis Johnson, and I have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder as young as 16. So I'm going to start off with spoken word. Can I put the mic down? Because they may not hear you. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. Mental illness is so concentrated. Let's get to the root of what is pain. Glory to the man above, rearranged, dwelling in hate, worrying, discontentment. Arouse plus gain, dabbing in present past tense, completely disdain. Refrain from falling. I said stand and refrain. I said sitting here, feeling of all that remained, healing or drifting from color to plain. Affluent frequencies left individuals mentally unstable to reign. Let's start the waters of complacency to change a current reality, or would it be considered a negative connotation? Because it's unheard of to come clean, bleeding from your spleen. Would you rather witness a community to function at a corrupt mind? I mean, left or right? Black or white? Up or down, opposites are soon to found, or is it similar to the ideal? Break free and take charge of your mental stability. It's a journey that everyone must take to find out what makes the world rotate instead of downwardly spill. Man, take a chill pill. So, being diagnosed with bipolar disorder as early as 16. I was put on, okay, no, not the mic. So, I have literally been on probably 85 different medications. And as of 3 years, I've been medicine free for 3 years. So, thank you. So, it's important for you to not only accept the diagnosis when you go seek help, but to do your own research. So to deal with actually bipolar at its own, what the video said and what Ms. Elsa said is so true. Like, you can go up and have an episode that you're completely manic. Honestly, mania could be some of your best moments. I know that sounds a little off, but Jim Carrey, when he did Me, Myself, and Irene, he was off his medication. So not only is bipolar a negative stigma, how people constantly throw on it like, oh, she's going crazy. People are probably at their best moment in their mania. Or it could go the other way. It could be very depressing. You may not want to get out the bed. It's something as simple as brush your teeth. You can't be able to shower. Like, there's been times that I've stayed in bed for almost an entire week, and people don't even know that I was still in my room in my college dorm because I was dealing with a depression, because that was the mania's up. So depression was the other component of bipolar disorder. It's very important for you to realize your triggers, to realize exactly on when you're feeling low or when something's not like all the way right, and seek for help. And if you're already seeking help, to contact your doctor. I know that we have other subjects, as in suicide. When you're at the depressive state with bipolar, you can channel yourself into depression so bad that you may want to kill yourself. I feel like, as if for me, suicide is kind of like split down the middle. Suicide could be, I feel as if there's no way out. So it doesn't matter what your particular situation is. It's feeling as I'm in a closed box, like there's no way out. So this is my only route to kill myself. Or it could be when you're medicated. There's actually medicine out there that it's scientifically, medically proven that you can have more suicidal thoughts because of different medication. Sometimes when they say, well, all the times, if you're having this particular problem, contact your doctor, because either you're on the wrong dosage, your dosage is not strong enough, or you need to be on another medication. Did I cover? Do I need to say anything else?
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And she's touching on some good topics, too, in reference to medication. I speak on it on every forum that we have. You need to educate yourself when a doctor prescribes something to you, because he's prescribing something that in his book is general. Everyone is different, though. Everybody's body is different. They take the medication different, and the responses to the medication is different. So you need to keep in contact with your doctor on how you're feeling and how your response to the medication is, because sometimes they just kind of diagnose you with something and then give the medication, and it's not the right one. It gives you more side effects than it is to cure the original issue. And just being kind of knowledgeable on your own research for what you're doing. Yes, please.
It goes along with, of course, knowing your diagnosis. When a doctor sits before you and say, this is what you are, it's for you as the patient, the client, whatever you want to call yourself, to go home and do the diligence to do your own research on the illness that you've been diagnosed with. That's one. Two, if they give you a medication, just don't say, okay, I'm going to take it. No, you need to read the side effects. You need to read what the symptoms are. You need to read exactly on medical conditions too. Like if you have diabetes and this medication may cause you to have weight gain, because I've been on it all, you need to know that, because I have sometimes been on a medication that I will gain 30 pounds in 1 week. So if you have diabetes, that's not coherent. So, and you need to contact your doctor. You need to be honest with your doctor, but you need to know exactly what do medication do, whatever. Another thing, schizophrenia and bipolar, sometimes different medication can treat, schizophrenia, like a Risperdal, can treat bipolar, but sometimes bipolar medication can treat schizophrenia. So if you know that, hey, this might work for this particular person, that's great for them, but it may not work for you. So you need to know your own body, you need to know your own information, and don't just Wikipedia, Google it, like go and do your diligence and seriously research on what's going on, because a doctor can just look at you and say, you haven't been sleeping? Check. This hasn't been going on? Check. And you're putting your fate, your life in their hands. You have to go home and say, okay, this is what the doctor says, and this is how I'm going to advocate for my life.
Agreed. 100%. Any questions in the audience? Mr. Councilman?
So I have a question. Recently, I saw a report that was put out that ADHD was something that was self-prescribed, something that was made up by the pharmacy company to diagnose people in our community. Have you seen that report, and can you give some feedback on that in regards to what these farm companies have done to some of the people in our community that are being diagnosed or false diagnosed with medication?
I was just going to say that what I do know is that a lot of these children are being misdiagnosed and being put on these meds. And as far as the pharmaceutical companies, we all know what they're about. And they're not about helping people per se. Well, I shouldn't say that. Their priority is to make money. Okay, so the more that they can go into a doctor's office and say, hey, if this kid, the more diagnosis they can get and then prescribe this meds, because you can't give meds without a diagnosis. So, and just like she said, they can just look at you for 2 seconds and give you a whole diagnosis. Who does that? That's not fair to that child, nor is it fair to the mom and the parents and what they have to deal with, because with those medicine comes those side effects. And now this child is having these ill thoughts, and now they don't feel comfortable with themselves. They have all these stressors in life that they're dealing with. So now they have the suicidal ideations now. And it's just because they're not in their right mind because of these medication. And that's why I was a strong advocate in the beginning when I said when a doctor prescribes you medication, again, do your due diligence as to what that medication is for, if it's helping you. If you're taking the medication and you see that your child is more focused, okay, then that's fine. But if he's like a zombie walking throughout, the day, and he's not functioning properly, he can't go from one extreme to another. There has to be a balance. And that's where the medication is supposed to be, to help the chemical imbalance in your brain, because something's not connecting in the wires. So on that respect, for the pharmaceutical companies, they do, the money part is, I think it's their main priority. However, if your child is being diagnosed with ADHD, definitely, and also look into holistic things. They can do, especially boys. Boys are so active. They're all over the place. I raised 2 boys on my own. I kept them in sports. I kept them busy. We have to do more as parents as well to kind of equip our kids with just life, and just different things to help them to deal with whatever issues they may have.
Something that they did say is you have to be attentive to yourself and to your children, the ones that you're responsible for, because that's a priority, because you have to see how they're reacting and handling certain medications and things that are being diagnosed by individuals that you're putting trust and faith into. Okay? We have a question over here, guys.
Kind of like a comment, kind of piggybacking on what you were saying in regards to diagnosing ADHD, particularly in our community. My little area of expertise, and you learned this about me last month, is autism.
Yes.
And something that I have noticed is a lot of times what they're diagnosing as ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder, can actually be autism.
Our minority
Yes.
kids.
Yes. So, and the thing is that
Unfortunately.
And the thing is that autism doesn't necessarily need medication in order to be treated. The best ways to treat it are actually behavioral health therapies.
ABA.
So meanwhile, exactly. So meanwhile, while the kids are getting pumped with different types of drugs, it's not addressing the actual concern or the actual issue. So that's part of what I want to do, is raise more awareness in the community on autism. I'm not saying that's every single child,
No.
but I do believe it's much higher than we know, because of the fact that our children are not getting diagnosed, or pediatricians are not diagnosing them for a myriad of reasons, and we're just not informed on what the symptoms are. Because a lot of things that look like ADHD, if you look a little closer and know more of the signs, you'll be like, okay, yeah, they can't pay attention, but they're also not making eye contact. They're also spinning all the wheels on the toys instead of playing with them
Fidgeting.
properly. They're also fidgeting. They also have fixations on certain things. They also sit and stare at lights for 3 hours in a row at a time. All that stuff together is not ADHD.
Exactly. And when I used to work in the autism department, those were my favorite kids to work with. Oh my gosh, because you don't make progress with them right away. You make progress with them months, if not years later. And when you see the progress, oh my gosh, it's just an excitement that you get with these kids that, oh, yes. And I must agree with you that the best therapy for them is that repetition, that ABA therapy that they're supposed to getting, and putting them on medication, it's another topic, that another form. Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I have a question for you too. You said you were on 85 different medications. Why did it take so long for them to come up with the right medication?
Okay, so first and foremost, I was trying to stay within the lines of bipolar, but when I first was diagnosed, I was diagnosed with depression. Now, at the time, my father was dying of cancer. I was a teenager, going through different things that should have been assessed with therapy instead of just resulting straight to medication. But, I thought that was cute, oh, I'm depressed, feel bad for me, so I can get out of class or something. So people were like, oh, you're depressed, but it was a self-pity that I didn't know at the time. I know now that it's nothing to be proud of. But at first it was depression. So I was given, now being a child, given adult medication, Abilify and Wellbutrin, and I was even given Risperdal, even though I'm supposed to be, depression. But when you are being reevaluated, you're being reevaluated by different doctors, and no one seems to really monitor you. So it was, I was going through different mood swings. I was having different things that were happening to me, and there were adult medications. So then that started affecting me medically. So then when they reevaluated me to bipolar, then they were trying to stay with mood stabilizers. So what depression is antidepressants. So then I went to mood stabilizers, and then I went to bipolar manic. So then they were giving me anxiety, schizophrenia. They were giving me all different medications. So as being institutionalized as a child, mental institutions for children are a whole lot worse than adults. They shove medication in your mouth. They don't give you any consent. It's just take it. And then they find somewhat of glory in the child reacting certain types of ways. And we don't know exactly what's going on. They don't tell you what it is. So I was determined. I went home and I said, I'm a Google baby. So I researched how every pill looked, how, what was diagnosis with this medication, what symptoms, whatever it was. So at the next time that I was institutionalized, and it happened because I'm not saying the system of going into jail, how it happens, but when you have a pre-existing condition, I wouldn't say picked on, but people are like, oh, just put it back there. Just put it back there. Just put it back there. And you keep getting reevaluated by a different doctor, giving you different medication. So then I come out and I'm talking to my regular doctor, and he's like, let me wean you off this. Let me put you back on this. And it's just an ongoing thing. So there's such thing as medications to stop working. So that's why I say being communication with your doctor. This is such thing as medication being too strong. Lithium didn't work for me. My ankles were as this swollen, but that was for bipolar. So I was like a lab rat. I was on different anti-anxiety pills. So I know all about those too, because when you are in a mental hospital, they don't respect the patient because you're irrelevant. You don't have a degree, but I do my research. So I can talk to the actual psychiatrist and say, oh yeah, you know what you're talking about. But everybody else is just like, no. So yeah, it was about 85 different medications that I was weaned off, put back on. Zyprexa, there's a lot of different ones that someone can just say, and I go, no, that's no good. And I feel like Lamictal is probably the best one. If you have Cogentin, which is a side effect pill, I think the lowest dosage, which you can get there, is probably the best or better one. But I don't know if I answer your question properly. But, okay.
And I'm so sorry for what happened to you in those institutional, especially with being a child. It's like you said, they have their, the children have no voice, but they're helpless, and it's really sad and just breaks my heart.
I would just like to ask the young lady, you said you've been off of medication for the last 3 years, and I was just thinking, as a person with bipolar also, who's been over 25 years with this illness, and what is some things that you find that helped you to remain medication free?
I want to be completely honest with you. First, I give honor to God. That's the first thing, okay? So the second thing, and not taking anything away from God, I got pregnant. I know that sounds strange, but my daughter, I refuse to be on medication or be medicated. Now, if you say, is it legal to take no, pregnant women, because they would say if the mother is not more important than the baby, but the mother is not healthy, then the baby's not healthy. So there's some women that actually take medication while they're actually carrying the baby. But I decided not to. And it was just so interesting because I just continue to keep active. Like by diet, as in eating the proper foods, I noticed mania was brought on more when I ate a lot of sweets. Getting a lot of rest has a lot to do with taking care of yourself. We talk about self-care all the time. Self-care is not just getting your nails done, getting your hair done, going vape. No, self-care is literally looking at your triggers, looking at your traumas, and dealing with them directly. I'm not saying that's easy. That's where therapy comes in. That's where your family support comes in. That's what even your spiritual source comes in. But that goes along with self-care. So sleeping, eating the proper foods, and staying active. If you want to do yoga, that's your way of meditation. If you want to exercise, whatever it is, you have to find a way to release those positive endorphins to help you deal with stress. Because I'm not against medication. It ruined my life, but I have a story to tell. I'm just saying, if you need it, you need it. But what I'm an advocate for, find everything you can possibly do before, that's the last resort for me. Because how can a doctor look you straight in the eyes and say, you have a chemical imbalance? You didn't do an MRI, you didn't do a CAT scan. But I believed those things for so many years because I didn't necessarily come into my own. Wow. They're telling me accept bipolar. My family's saying accept it. Take this medication until God heals you from it. So that's what I did. But then coming off becoming pregnant and the grace of God, some things of not the fogginess of medication on my brain all the time, I could actually think. And some people actually say, you know what? I don't think you were meant to be put on that in the first place. We see a better difference in you now than you were when you were on that medication. So know yourself is all I had to say.
Let's give her a hand, please. So moving on, we're going to talk about schizophrenia. And again, I'm going to show a short clip so we can kind of understand schizophrenia from a patient's point of view.
Imagine you're sitting in a room surrounded by 100 televisions, all on different channels with the volume turned all the way up. Now try to concentrate on one of the televisions. Try to make out one single sentence. Now imagine having that much noise in your head every minute of every hour of every day. Welcome to reality for 2.4 million American adults living with schizophrenia. Because schizophrenia manifests differently in every person, it might not be hundreds of televisions, but voices in your head that no one else hears, or different symptoms entirely. These distractions can be overwhelming experiences that lead to decisions and behaviors others find troubling. Schizophrenia doesn't appear to be linked to one specific cause. Studies suggest it could be the result of several interconnected factors, like brain chemistry, genetics, and environmental triggers. Thankfully, there are treatments which help schizophrenia, and with the support of others, recovery is possible. You are not alone. We can help.
So I want to touch really quick on the discussion of when he was saying the external factors with schizophrenia as it pertained to minorities. You can be predisposed to schizophrenia, but if you have a lot of stress, ongoing stressors going on in your life, it can kind of heighten that to put you in a full-blown state. Especially in boys in their adolescent years, black boys in their adolescence years, if they're dealing with stressors, and we may think that what do they have to deal with? What do they have to stress about? We need to hear our children sometimes and listen to them, understand what they're going through. Just a simple process from high school to college may be so stressful for them. Factors at home, whatever it is they're dealing with, just help them understand what they're going through and hear them out. Because stress is a major component in schizophrenia, especially in younger boys. Next, I wanted to bring, he can introduce himself. He's speaking from a caretaker point of view, and I thought it was very important for us to hear his story because many of us deal with parents, children, relatives that are dealing with issues that as caretakers, it stresses us out as well. And we don't understand or see the effect that it can take if we have an ongoing stressor in our life without kind of that self-care for ourselves. So.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike O'Britton. I've been blessed to have 6 children. I thank you. My daughter actually came tonight as well. My second youngest son, Jordan, is now 21 years old. On Halloween of 2015, he came home from a night of fun, and apparently one of his friends was diagnosed with ADHD, and he was taking a drug called Adderall. And at that time, it still might be that a lot of kids, college kids, are taking Adderall to keep them awake. It's sort of a rush, etc. Well, that didn't work for my son. My son has not been the same since that day. He also suffers from psychosis, so schizophrenia and psychosis. And from everything that we studied, everything we read is all the above. It has tendencies for disorder, it has tendencies for itself psychosis, the schizophrenia itself does. He is not himself. There are times, I am the only person that he'll communicate with. He has a problem with everyone. I attempted to bring him tonight, hoping that he could hear something that would help him. It wouldn't have worked. Today was not a good day for him. So I'm here to share with you and to appeal to you to take care of yourself when you're in this position. It has cracked me. Damn. You see what I mean?
It's tough. It's really tough.
So, catch yourself, see someone for help before you're the patient. I'm sorry I did this in front of you.
It's all right, brother. It's all right. Healing is in the building.
He's a good kid.
I really commend him and thank him for coming out tonight. You never know what people have to deal with and endure and the things that goes on behind closed doors, you know. So at some point when we're in the streets, and just have compassion for people and have, like, don't be so quick to judge, you know. Like I said, and like he said, it may not be you this time, but it could be you tomorrow. You know? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any questions? Yes. Oh, go ahead. Okay. There you go.
One of the
Okay.
One of the things are that we do have some people watching at home, though, so we want them to be engaged. They couldn't have made it. They may not have felt safe coming, so it's being aired and broadcasted so that all of the people out can actually watch and engage. So that's why I want you guys to try to use the mic for me.
Yes. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I just would like to say that I've been on a lot of sides of what the topic is tonight, from my mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters. And I just like to say, everybody, when it comes down to self-care, love yourself. You know, we've been taught, you know, we hear the preachers say, love your enemy as yourself and all that. But I like to say that we've been misinformed. You got to look at the first enemy. How can you love an enemy outside of you and you don't love yourself? Mm-hmm. I can't love my wife if I don't love myself. I can't love my children. But anyway, look, we got to look at the enemy in us. Amen?
Amen.
So when we understand that we're hurting ourselves, then we learn to love ourselves. If a lot of this was being taught over the pulpit when we was little, when we got older, we would be a lot farther. But what I'm trying to say, and we got to watch what we hear. Words are powerful. I was told that you are rude, crude, and socially unacceptable in middle school. You would never be nothing. You would never get an education. Thank God I have a master's today.
Amen.
But what I'm saying is, we have to watch what we allow to come into our psyche and our ears. We have to speak life to ourselves. Stop depending on someone else. And number one, when we pray, say this with me, pray and get out the way.
And get out the way.
So when you pray, get out of the way and let God do the rest. You pray and move, be mobile.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this, parents, God bless you for what you're doing. Friends, associates, God bless you all. It is a way. All you have to do, you don't need all that medication, because they're like drug dealers, okay? And you got to think like that, okay? They don't care. They're just trying to make their money. It's natural things. I take kale. I beat up diabetes. Now I'm not type 2 anymore. I'm borderline. Praise God.
Praise God.
So what I'm saying, you have to eat right. And she was saying, right, sugar and all that. We have to eat right. I had to make sure I was born again, but my appetite was a sinner. Amen?
Amen.
So I had to make sure my appetite was saved like me. So now everything is lining up. So God bless you all. Trust God. And remember this, pray and get out the way. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you for that. To piggyback on, yes.
May I finish?
Of course.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. What I want to also say that I think is important enough to humiliate myself and come back is she's absolutely right about the medications. My son Jordan has been on through all costs from $5 to $300, probably at least 20 different drugs, and respectfully, each one basically made him a zombie. When that person is suffering through these conditions, they can't tell you what they're going through. They have a spurt that you know that person is there, but that's 5 to 10% of the day. The rest of the day, you're praying for something new to change or to happen, and you just have to continue to pray, because it doesn't seem that it does. It's not negative, it's not disappointing, it's challenging. So you have to continue to look for results. I'm here tonight for that reason. One, to educate those of you that are giving care, to care for yourself too. Be sure you have strong support systems. That's why my daughter came anyway, even though I told her not to. But you have to, you can't get those answers from the patient, in this case my son. He can't tell me what's right. But one time he did say to me, about 6 months ago, he said, "Dad, if you never do anything else for me, please don't make me take those pills," because they were making him worse. And he literally would walk in the room, if he were here now, under the pills. He would stand in here and hold his head so far down, I didn't know a neck could go that far down. He would just truly be a zombie. Unofficially, we were told to try more herbal type medications. And it seems that with the studies of cannabis and other type products, that no one knows why or how, I guess, yet, or no one has approved it yet, but those things seem to have helped him to some degree, and we were able to get him. Now, keep in mind, psychosis can be caused by marijuana. So it's a catch-22. So we're going to put him back there because the man-made medications aren't helping him. I had 2 doctors call me unofficially. They don't know each other, didn't know each other, and said to me over the phone, not in writing, "Give the boy a cupcake." And that's something with marijuana or THC in it. I fought it because I still know it's illegal. This gentleman gave his son, who's mentally ill, drugs. So it turned out that someone else did, and he has gotten better. He can hold a conversation for about 20 minutes of the day, and then it slips right back in. He will sort of attack people verbally, not while they're there. He will see somebody walk by and say, "Why did he have to walk by here?" It's not a positive result. It's, "Who's that? Why are they here? They don't need to be here. They shouldn't be here anymore." And keep in mind, in the course of a day, we may see 10 or 15 people. So it's a rotation of attacking, to some degree verbally, others, even his loved ones. He won't speak to his mother, who is no longer with me. His uncles try to reach him. He won't talk to anybody but yours truly, and the Cupcake Man. So, which I keep separate from me. So, because they're still against the law. And we're on television. But I want you guys to, again, my part was as a caregiver, and it's very difficult. You saw what I went through, and that's quite humiliating for me. But it's worth it to me because I love my son that much, and it does hurt. So take care of yourself, though, when you're a caregiver. Remember, I say this to other people and didn't do it myself. When you go to an accident and you see someone helping someone else, this person's in an accident, this person's helping them, go to that person first because they're also now in a traumatic state. Be sure they're okay, then you can move over to that person and move this one out the way. If not, you're going to wind up having two people to care for. So take care of the caregiver.
Give it up to him, please.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So as a caretaker myself, but I don't have kids, it's my mom. But I was just wondering, like, what does self-care looks like? Like, what are the suggestions that you give as far as when to know the balance of when you're not taking care of yourself and you've pretty much given your all of who you are to whom you're taking care of? So what does that look like when you're talking about self-care and not feeling selfish?
Okay, well, first and foremost, again, you have to put yourself first. You have to take care of yourself and whatever that means for you. Knowing yourself is key point. Knowing what you like, what makes you happy, what makes you sad. A key component that I like to tell people is keep the negativity out. Like, that is a major factor in when we hear people's negativity, when people just want to call a chat about book BS, or they just have always something negative to say to you. You need to identify those people and kind of X them out, because you need all the positivity that you need in your life. And people, like he said, support, period. That's going to help you when you need to take a break. Find your likes. Do you have hobbies? Do you still do them? You still do your hobbies? Okay. Do you ever feel like you are breaking down at some point? Okay. So those are key factors that is weighing on you. Okay. So definitely keep the positive things that you like going on. Keep the negative people out. Self-care goes beyond just, getting your hair done, makeup done, your nails done, going out. It goes into what I just said as far as the right people in your life, doing things that you like, having a goal. Try to maintain that normalcy as possible without just giving your all to the person who you're taking care of, because it's hard. And I know firsthand, it's hard because we have to be there for them, whether it be an adult or a child. And then we feel guilty if we do, but if we kind of get back into a sadness, or we get stressed out, or we get overwhelmed, it's going to reflect to them. Because now we're going to be agitated, and we're going to be frustrated, and we're going to lash out to them, and it wasn't meant for them. You understand? So just kind of have key notes on what you like to do. Throw them all out on a piece of paper. And whatever you can do that day when you're feeling stressed out or you're feeling agitated and you like to go to the movies, call somebody to watch them, go to the movies, and just kind of take that day to pamper yourself. And key things too, like sleeping properly, eating properly, exercising is a really good key to taking a walk is still considered an exercise. 30 minutes a day, you'll see the difference. Okay? Yes.
I know this is a very unconventional way of self-care, but finding understanding. If you know that a family member has been diagnosed with something, to do your diligence, to do their research about what they're going through. So even talking to the doctor, but then again saying, okay, this is what they're supposed to do, or this may happen. So it can give your spirit some type of comfort, because you may be so frustrated because it's not really because you're really tired of it, because you really are ignorant, because you don't know what's going on. Because mental illness is not something you can lay hands on and cast it out. I've had an exorcism done on me. I was yawning Okay, what is this? False prophet. So anyways, I'm saying that you need to know and not go to other sources. Directly go into your own research, because people come, they're very critical and they're not credible. So please, that could be another way of self-care.
Another thing that I want to add to that is meditating, yoga, meditating and prayer, setting aside 5 to 10 to 15 minutes a day to just meditation and prayer. Yoga, I think I said that. Anything that you like to do, just kind of make sure that you do that, though, consistently, to kind of just have that balance for yourself. Okay.
One of the biggest things that I've seen is, especially within our community, it's always they'll put hands on you. They want us to pray it away. Yeah. You have to pray it away. And one of the things that they do say in the Bible is faith without works is dead. You have to have faith, but you also have to put the work in. This young lady said to do your research, to work, to study, to exercise, put the work in. So if you're going to have faith, you also have to work as well.
Amen.
Quick question. Ooh, y'all powerful in here. Everybody take a breath real quick. Just breathe. Relax.
Hold on. That's
Relax.
so true. There's something called a breathing technique.
Yeah, we need
so if you breathe deeply for 10 seconds, I didn't say 15, 8 seconds, hold it for like 3, and then breathe out again for 8. It sounds easy. It's hard. But once you master that, it's really good. I'm sorry? Okay, good. Please send that to me. I'll put it on my page. That it really helps. Thank you for that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank y'all, everybody. Thank y'all for hosting. Thank everybody for being so engaging. This is authenticity and having a trueness, a true nature is the only way we'll make any true progression. So thank you. I appreciate that, first of all. I have experienced a similar situation. I was not diagnosed with certain conditions because I didn't get assessed. Like many people in the community, we won't get assessed unless we're drugged there, literally 9 times out
Baker
of 10.
Act.
Yeah, Baker Act. I mean, arrested almost. Basically, that would be the only way a lot of us would be assessed. Had it not been for events like this that allow us to engage and understand how it can truly be beneficial. But I want to ask, what's your name? Britton? Mike. I want to ask, has there been certain activities that you have witnessed that your son would engage in other than others that you can really connect to who you know him to really be? Have there been certain things?
He will, as far as an activity, because he needs things that money has to buy, he's willing to work for it. He doesn't have the attitude that give me, and of course I don't portray that I can give. But he will find something to do within our business, and respectfully, it's not something of true value, but to him, it's his job, and he stays focused on that. The other thing, and thank you for asking the question, and God bless you, is going to the movies. He can go to the movies by himself. He'll Uber or Lyft to the movies. He knows what he wants to see. I'm scared to death when he does it because I don't know what to expect. He has his own credit card. I transfer money to it, He's trying to be independent. I don't know who else sees that other side of him. Well, he'll share it with somebody that comes by, but I see it, I guess, the most. But he keeps engaged in just those 2 things. He wants to work, and he wants to go to a movie.
Well, I just want to encourage you to, everyone is speaking on a lot, but basically acknowledgement and realizing, self-actualization, self-realization, and even for others when we care for them. But I just want to encourage you to continue to engage and support him and love him overall in every way, but particularly in the ways where you see he's able to carry out things for himself. He's demonstrating he is connected and very passionate about it. I just want to encourage you to, and everyone for that matter, any youth, particularly if y'all see the youth, talk to them or you give them an opportunity to expand their horizon and do something that is outside of their norm. Encourage them and continue to grow with them. Don't restrict them and don't limit them. especially if they demonstrate that it's not something that they find happiness or joy in. All right, thank you.
Yeah, there are some key words you can say. Son, I believe in you. Son, you're really smart. Son, you really did a great job at that. You're absolutely right. Your brain is thinking something else, but what comes out of your mouth is what they hear. So speaking those positive things on them, you're absolutely right, makes a difference. Thank you.
I just want people to understand too a little bit with schizophrenia. It's really tough. It's really tough. You know, it's because he was saying you used to get 10 minutes, now you get 20 minutes out of him. That's facts. So at that key moment, that's when he will receive what you're saying to him, because any other time he's in a delusional state, he's very paranoid, and everybody around him is to attack him. That's how he sees the world. The video with they have multi-films in their brain, and they don't know who to listen to at that moment because it's just all projected at them at the same time, and that's where the chemical imbalance comes in. Whereas we focus on, you know, sometimes we can be tunnel vision, or sometimes women, we can multitask, you know, but they just can't. They have 100 pictures in their brain at the same time. So it's just a very difficult, and I really commend you for what you're doing. Okay, so last but not least, oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of our clients who have been diagnosed with your schizophrenias or your schizoaffectives or your bipolar, a lot of my clients that I sit and talk to, it's because there is some unresolved trauma. A lot of the schizophrenia comes from flashbacks of what happened when I was a child. So I always encourage the family. I have friends that are psychiatrists, but psychiatrists are strictly for medication.
Yep.
And so when you have a psychologist, which is someone totally different, if you've ever been in a psychiatry appointment, it's 15 minutes and they're done.
And you diagnosed.
And you diagnosed.
And you get medication.
And you get the medication. And I've had clients where they're like, okay, well, the Risperdal don't work, so we're gonna put you on the Abilify injection. Okay, the Abilify injection didn't work, so we're gonna put you on this Trazodone or something like that. And they're going back and forth because they're doing trial and error. They don't know why now the symptoms have worsened, and they don't know. And so I always tell people, go talk to a psychologist or go talk to a therapist first and see kind of what's going on. And then if they recommend, maybe you should go on and see if medications can help. Then, because licensed therapists can diagnose, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
They are assessors, so they're assessing the situation, and they're not going to give you medication. Correct. They're going to say, no, let's do at least 3 months of therapy, or okay, then maybe you should go head on and see a psychiatrist. But I always encourage people to go there first, because the first thing they're going to do is give you medications. Your body may reject the medication. Your body may get used to the medication, so it's not working anymore. And then they give you higher dosage, and now you're sedated. So now they're just trying to subside the symptoms, and they're not really working on the issue, which is the trauma,
core
being
issue.
sexually.
Correct.
Yeah. So.
Now, ma'am, if they're on medication, I know my psychiatrist, well, past psychiatrist used to say, it's very vital that if you're on medication, to take it at the same time every day, or it will not have the same effect. If you know that you're supposed to take it at 8 in the morning and 8 at night, it needs to be just that. When your alarm, I'll get to it, no, because that will throw your body off.
All the way off.
And it will send you into what they call a setback, a downward spiral,
Psychotic
or even
episode.
Psychosis, or I call it an episode.
Yeah, a psychotic episode, yeah.
Psychotic
or
episode.
if you're on medication, don't stop because you think you need to stop.
Let your doctor wean you off, because some
off,
medications are fatal. Like if you have a certain dosage in your system and you're just like, oh, because I was like, I can't take this medication. Because some of the medication, it will make me delusional. It will make me see little bunnies going. I'm like, what is going on? And I remember Risperdal, I thought the TV was going to eat me. I thought I was Spider-Man crawling up the walls. To some people, they think that's funny. But when it happens to you, it's the most scariest thing in the world because you cannot control it. But then when you come off, you're like, hey, I don't want to take that anymore. But let your doctor do it, because they go to school for it. They have licensing degrees in it, and they study it. If you take yourself off, it could cause you death. It could cause you a serious trauma episode. You know, I've read stories of people, you know, I'm Superman, and go on top and literally end up hurting themselves. So I'm saying, let your doctor do it.
That's very true. When you withdraw for certain medication, it can have an effect to you where it's very fatal, especially benzos. And I forget the other one, but you definitely need to get the approval from your doctor when they put you on it to get off of it. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, I read years back where schizophrenia can be linked with like a history of alcoholism, and I want to know if that was true or not.
In my opinion, the research has shown that if you're drinking a lot and if you're taking drugs, yes, it heightens. You're already predisposed to these, probably by hereditary, or sometimes it's not even in your genes, and it can kind of kick that in effect to full-blown schizophrenia. Yes.
If you're taking medicine, do not
drink. Actually, I think that was the case with.
Yeah, what he did was he took Adderall and marijuana, and it was a high level of THC in the marijuana, and those two things took him right out.
And what they do sometimes in college is they have like a mixing bowl, what they'll call it, and they'll just throw all kinds of drugs into a bowl, and then at their parties they'll just like take whatever is there at that moment, and it's like a cocktail, so to speak. And that's when they're doing more, they're trying to have that fun high, but then some cases it's just more damaging than it is for that little high.
It's like ammonia and bleach together.
Mixing together, exactly. Yeah, two powerful components. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you again. Thanks everyone, please, again, for Mr. Michael. So last but not least, I don't have a video for this because I want Tiffany she can again introduce herself, but to kind of give her spiel on suicide. Suicide from my point of, well, let me let her speak first and then I'll kind of conclude with it. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. About 13 years ago, I attempted to commit suicide. I had a really bad day at work, and my mom was yelling at me about some stuff, and it was just a number of things. At the time, my mom, till this day, my mom has always been an alcoholic. She was abusive to me. I was basically her source of getting her anger out. And I came home from work, I was really upset, and I stopped at the store in Wellington, and I grabbed the first bottle of pills I could find that had the strongest doses, and I took a bottle of Bacardi, and I drank pretty much the whole bottle of Bacardi and chugged the whole bottle of pills. And I was home by myself. I had a roommate. My roommate came home. She saw me unresponsive. She called my aunt, and my aunt called the police, and she was trying to get me awake. And finally, the ambulance came. They pumped my stomach. They got me awake, and they Baker Act me. So if anyone doesn't know what Baker Act means, it's basically when they hold you if you're a harm to yourself or someone else. And in that case, obviously, I was a harm to myself. And I was in the hospital for about 2 months in the psychiatric ward under therapy. And the other person that was there was my mom. And it was funny because at that time, when she should have been consoling me and helping me, it was a complete opposite effect, which made me attempt suicide again in the hospital. So, sorry. At the time, there was numerous things going on in my head. It wasn't just my mom or my job. I was 22 or 23. I was just being a 22-year-old girl, you know, making a lot of money, living fast, doing all these things, and not thinking of the repercussions of my actions, not thinking I had a source to speak to, not, you know, finding an outlet through someone or anything. And I was struggling with my own demons in my head from my mom and other things that I was going through at the time. And it was just, one day I was like, you know what, I don't want to be here. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I just want to be over it. And that was that day. And when it happened, the person that I thought I wouldn't hurt the most was my brother. and I saw my brother cry for the first time, and I was like, okay, Tiffany, you gotta fix this. And I did the work. I did the work not just for myself, but really for my brother. Because I really, at that time, still didn't care about myself. And I did it because he fought for me so hard. He was just like, you cannot do this to me. You cannot leave me here by myself. And that broke me. Sorry. So, and till this day, I still have my demons and I still struggle. And I'm not gonna sit here and be like, well, I'm over it, I'm fine, I'm past it. That's not the case. I still struggle with it. Sometimes I gotta be like, all right, Tiffany, you got this, but sometimes I really don't. But it's not about that moment. It's about finding the peace within yourself in that moment, saying, look, I deserve another hour, I deserve another day, I deserve another month, another year. I want more for myself than just this moment. And that's what I always find solace in. You know what I'm saying? My demons and my thoughts are just for that moment. And you have to fight for yourself. Because, yeah, there's people out there fighting for you. My boyfriend's here. He's always telling me he loves me. And sometimes he's always telling me he loves me. And sometimes, even today, he's like, why don't you listen to me when I tell you I love you? It's like, it's not about him saying the words, it's me receiving the words. And it's going back to what you said about your son. Sometimes you don't know how to receive the love and the care that you deserve because you're struggling with your own thoughts. And, you know, when you have your demons, you have to know the good from the bad in that moment, you know? I'm not a very religious person, but I do understand that God's like, you know, the devil's in your brain, you know, Tiffany, get out of it. It's not that serious. It's just a moment. You'll get over it, you know? And I find that sometimes, even the littlest things, I'll get out the house, you know, I'll go shopping, I'll go do my nails. I will find a moment for myself no matter where it's at. Even at work, I'll go sit in my car and just have a moment to myself because you just need it. You just really need it, you know what I'm saying? And it's just literally what I can say for it is fighting for yourself. That's what it is. It's really just fighting for yourself and saying, I'm worth it. I'm worth it, you know? And that's what I gotta say.
Oh, I just love her. I really commend Tiffany for doing this because she has said we knew how hard it was gonna be, but she did an amazing job. Please, again, for Tiffany. One thing I want to point out with people who feel suicidal or have the ideations is, and then I'm going to kind of touch on Tiffany. Anyone who knows Tiffany, she is the most happiest go lucky person. She puts you in a good spirit. Do you understand? So to understand that she's going through this behind closed doors is just the typical kind of trait of what people who I've heard and my clients who comes in are dealing with. You know, they're that loving person for others, but they just can't find it for themselves. And that's where the self-love comes in or the self-care comes in to where we need to be that for ourselves when we weren't taught that as a kid. You know, we have to, there's a saying that as parents and adults, we have to right the wrongs of our parents to be successful in life, right? Because whatever they portrayed on us, they develop core thoughts in yourself and core value, which you believe, and it's not true because you are worthy. You're beautiful, you're loving, right? The people who are around you, they love you very much. Like, I don't want to get too personal, but she's just an amazing person is just what I want to say. And it's just that component of self-care and self-love is so important that once we don't get it as a child, we have to find the strength and courage and fight for ourselves to kind of redirect our thinking, redirect our thoughts from the negativity to a positive one. And just kind of blocking out the negative. And even when you have one, we're human, we're gonna have a negative thought, but just have a deal with yourself. Once a negative thought comes in, counteract it with 2 out. You know, like say, do something for yourself, and it's hard because you're gonna be naturally, it's a natural, you're accustomed to that, right? So you're accustomed to the negative thoughts, you're accustomed of you, you're you. So you have to learn how to redo the thinking that you have been instilled. And I really commend Tiffany on speaking on this.
I want to take some time to just do 2 quick introductions of some people, let them speak for a few minutes just about their experiences and introduce them to the audience as well. And then we're just going to do a few minutes of question and answer as well to close out. This is the 3rd part of our series, and we're looking to actually get this started again. We need to really build upon this within our community. And this is what I was able to get the initiative going within the city. So what I want to do is figure out how we can keep going and moving forward with this initiative of mental health in the minority community. Okay? I want to introduce a good friend of mine, Mr. Weston. If y'all could give a round of applause for this man. I'm going to let Mr. Ralph Weston tell, he's going to tell his story on his experience and what he's actually gone through in life.
Well, guys, my name is Ralph Wester, as Mr. Councilman just said. I was incarcerated for 22 years. I'm a citizen. I'm a native of Riviera Beach, and I was a drug dealer, and I had to go pay for being a drug dealer. When I went in there, I saw guys with all these symptoms that you have: the bipolar, the schizophrenia, the suicidal tendencies, and it's really rough, man. Now, what I'm up here speaking about is what are we gonna do with these guys when they come home? Amen. What are we gonna do? Because in there, they just getting medicated. That's why I ask you about the 85 medicines, because every day I used to have to go fight for one of our homeboys from Riviera Beach or West Palm Beach, because the doctors just wanted to medicate them instead of listen to them and just see. They were only just scared because there's a lot of young guys. Now, I may look young, but I'm 56 years old, so I was like a shot caller in there with our young guys. And I spent 22 years in there fighting for West Palm Beach and Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, period. And, you know, that's how we roll in there. So, I mean, it's really hard to see these guys just being medicated every day and not really being cared for properly. They'll just throw the medicine to them at night. You'll see long lines, maybe 100 guys, maybe more, and they're just on medicine. And it's just so heartbreaking. Every day, I used to try to talk to some of them. Man, you don't have to be on this medicine. But I know that they had to wean themselves off, like you were saying. But I always try to talk to them and try to get them off of them. But some guys they just been on it so long that they can't kick it right now. So I say this. I mean, we locking all these guys up, but we're not really treating them. And I'm so happy now that the government is starting to look at treatment instead of locking guys up. Now, don't get it twisted. I believe some of us need to be locked up because, I mean, I done ran into some guys that did some awful things, and they should be in there. But I ran into some guys only had maybe one rock, and they were smoking, you know, and they got arrested. And they got 10, 15 years. You know, I left a lot of good friends that's from right here that ran around in this area right here back in there. I got blessed and came out early because I wasn't supposed to get out until 2023. You know, so, I mean, I know some of us hate Trump and this, that, and other, but he did sign for us, for some of us to get out early. I mean, I don't know what his agenda was or whatever, but I'm so thankful that he did let me get out early because, I mean, I was in there for a small amount of drugs, but I mean, I did commit the crime, so I had to do the time, as we say. And I didn't have a problem with that. But my problem is to see some of our brothers in there suffering like they were suffering. So every day I fought for them, going up to the medical, going to sit with the guys that had wanted to commit suicide, You know, so I know what you're saying because I had to sit in there. I might go over there 10 o'clock in the morning and don't leave until 10 o'clock the next day, watching, you know, our guys from Palm Beach or, you know, it didn't matter where you were from. If they called me, I was going. So I understand what you're saying, you know, and I'm proud and I'm happy that your boyfriend tells you that every day because for real, that's, I mean, you know, that's something that you need. You know, you need somebody to tell you, you know, they loved you and, you know, to care. Because I told my boys, you know, I told them that I loved them and, you know, I was there for them and I cared for them, you know, because they didn't have anybody. They couldn't even reach out to their family. So that's the sad part about it. They sitting in there on those drugs and the families don't even know that they own these drugs. So, you know, it's just, you're going to be seeing a lot of me because I'm going to be the ambassador for the city of Riviera Beach, and I'm going to be out talking, and I'm going to be to all the events for Riviera Beach. And I just hope you guys just open up your arms because a lot of them coming home, and a lot of them sick. So, I mean, just open your arms up and, you know, show them some love, man, because right now, it's nobody loving them. And I know you guys got some cousins or brothers or sisters, somebody in there. So just think about it, man, and just reach out to them sometime and just say something. I know you may not, you know, think they was so bad out there, but some guys change. Some guys change, you know. So thank you, guys. Thank you.
I wanted to introduce Mr. Weston because he's going to be focusing on this initiative of our residents that are coming back. We're introducing these young men and women into society and being a support for them. So I want him to be speaking, especially since our community is the most incarcerated community. So right now that has to be our focus by providing that support, especially when it comes to mental health, mental awareness. I also wanted to introduce Ms. Daphne. Give her a round of applause, please. Ms. Daphne, I met her a few months ago right here at this forum, and she actually wrote an article for us. She's going to tell you guys a little bit about it.
Yes, good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? This has been riveting, and Councilman Lawson, even my partner Abiyati, Miss Issa Allen, none of them know this, but in 2005, I was diagnosed with a mental illness. And at that time, I had already had a long-standing media career. I started my first job at the age of 16 at Channel 12. I went to FSU. I got my degree in communications. I had already interviewed over 200 celebrities, all names you would know, like Oprah, Will Smith, Hillary Clinton, all in person. And then, all of a sudden, in 2005, I tried to jump out of a car, and I told my aunt, who was driving me to the Race for the Cure for breast cancer, and I said, I killed someone. I had not killed anyone, but I thought someone was telling me to say that I killed someone. And my aunt took me to Good Samaritan Hospital, and the security guard started asking me, where were you when you killed someone? I had no answers because I had not killed anyone. But that started my journey with mental illness. I'll finish that story another time. But it is riveting. And today, after that, I've done some of my greatest work ever. So there is hope. Truly, there is hope for overcoming mental illness. So at a later point, Mr. Albritton, I wouldn't mind sitting down with you and your family. I think I know some of your family members. But it can affect anyone. I didn't have mental illness in my family. I had never shown signs of mental illness. I didn't know where this came from, but it came to me. And when I tell my true testimony, you won't believe some of the things that I thought during that time. But I have a lot to say about family, helping. I have a lot to say about working through with yourself. But the tricky part, Miss Allen said, is that when you are diagnosed with schizophrenia and when you're exhibiting those symptoms, you don't know that you're mentally ill. So when people are trying to reason with you, they're going up against a brick wall because you don't think there's anything wrong with you. So I can only say, by the grace of God, I'll share my true testimony at a later time. But thank you. But meanwhile, as a journalist, as I said, I've written many stories. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I started out, was going to write a story on Councilman Lawson and this series. But just as I was going to write the story, eventually Congressman Alcee Hastings announced that he was having a symposium on mental illness as well. And then Abiyadi's partner, Abiyadi, raise your hand. Abiyadi's partner, Trayvon Adderley, suffered with his family. His brother suffered mental illness, and as a result of that, he stabbed his grandmother repeatedly and set the house on fire. You may have seen it on the news. And he has started, the two of them have started a campaign called Say Yes to Mental Success. And God is amazing because he brought me to that family to help them with the media, and I had no idea I was going to be entrenched in a mental illness campaign. Look at God. So here I am, but I ended up combining the story and writing it on Alcee Hastings' effort, Councilman Lawson's effort, as well as Trayvon Adderley's effort. I don't have enough of these articles for all of you, but Councilman Lawson, his comments are mentioned in here. There's a photograph of Miss Issa Allen on page 6A, continuation of the story. And because I still want to do the tribute to Councilman Lawson, I'm doing a story on him next week that'll come out in next Thursday's paper as well. So I'm gonna give the panel one of these, each one of the panel. I want them to get a copy first because I believe all three of you would maybe want to connect with some of these people in the story once you go home and read the story. And then I do have a few more. I don't know how to disperse them. I have some for Abiyadi and the councilman, but if somebody else wants one, you're welcome to have an article. This gentleman, this lady here, take one, please. No, I have to say something. Oh, you have to say
I have to say this. My name is Donna Nichols-Jones, and unbeknownst to anyone here, I do work for Congressman Alcee Hastings. And that's how amazing God is, because actually I came here on behalf of Alexis. She's my adopted niece. And so we talk an awful lot. I would consider myself one of her mentees, one of her confidants. And so she told me that she was coming. And actually I had invited her to the symposium with Congressman Alcee Hastings, but she had something to do that day. But I just wanted to say one, really to look at God, because what is it that God can do? How could it be that we would all be in the same room, you know, for different reasons? But we do have to find ways that we can really get more involved and do things that would truly make a difference. So if anyone would really desire really to call the office, and I would be more than willing to participate. I am the community liaison for him. And so, you know, again, God is just amazing. I just wanted to add that.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm not sure when their next symposium is, but if you want to read the full story on the councilman, next Thursday it will be online, sfltimes.com. You can pull it up, Councilman Councilman Lawson. You can pull that up, and then it will also be on stands in Palm Beach County as well as Miami-Dade and Broward County as well, just like this one is all over Miami, all over Broward, and all over Palm Beach every Thursday. So you can go to the various stores like Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, Publix, all the different stores, Racetrack, Cumberland Farms, and pick up a copy for 50 cents. So make sure you see that next Thursday on this councilman and all the great things that he's doing. So let's give him another round of applause. Thank you.
So guys, our biggest thing is just continue to push this initiative. It's not my initiative, it's the people's initiative. It's what's needed in our community. So as a conglomerate, we want to work together and make sure that we can always have these available forums, these open forums. I hosted it here in City Hall because this is where the people meet to make decisions for our community. So it needs to be a safe place. It's a safe place for our residents, a safe place for all of the people to come and say, this is what I need to talk about. I'm going to be putting together another series with Miss Allen. We're going to be doing another 3-part series in the next coming months. I'm thinking of starting it in either October or November, but we'll be putting out the advertisements through her page and through the city website as well. So I just need you guys to continue to push this initiative for mental health in the community because it's so important and vital for us. Okay.
Before we close out, I do want to bring up Lee-Meyer Goldweiler for some final thoughts and he was my co-host throughout these 3, so.
Hello, how everybody doing? So I just want to add some final thoughts, some things that I wrote down. And we can't control what we hear, but we can control what we accept about ourselves. All right, so a lot of times we hear stuff or people speak negative things about us. It's about what we accept, what we agreement. And I learned that from a book called The 4 Agreements about what we accept. You know, so people are going to say a lot of different stuff. All right, but if you believe what they're saying, it's going to take you down. All right, and another thing, routines. Routines are vitally important for your life. All right, so I'm a person that I wake up at 5 a.m. and I wake up at 5 a.m. just to read. And I wake up at 5 a.m. just to read because I got to control the spirit of my day. If I start my day with junk, it's like my day goes with junk. But if I start my day in a positive mindset, I'm waking myself early, I done knocked out my own goal already, then when I get out into the world, I'm less likely to fold or bend to the will of other people. I can control my attitude. I can control my mindset. I can control how I respond to the adversity that's coming because it's life, right? It's life. So things are going to happen that we just cannot control, all right? I just went through a recently tough situation where I lost my little brother. He died in the prison system, actually. And it was extremely tough. And it took me a little while to get back to being myself. And then tonight we was talking about self-care. So one of my self-care routines is listening to comedy. Like when I feel things getting too tough and too hard for me, I got to put on some comedy. I need to laugh. I need to release those endorphins. So these are just a few things that I do that helps me. Because I've dealt with so much trauma. And for people that know me and that don't know me, I played basketball for 10 years overseas. So I had a lot of time to spend by myself, all right? So I couldn't run. I had to look at myself in the mirror and deal with all this trauma, growing up with no mom, no dad, grandma dying at 18. So I'm left to, I ain't have nobody to talk to. So I'm left to kind of figure it all out. And I haven't figured it all out, but I've figured out how to take care of myself. Because if I could take care of myself, I could take care of my boys, my family. My family depends on me. But I got to be here for them. But if I ain't well, I'm going to raise healthy boys. All right, so I appreciate you guys, and thank you.
Thank you. So just to piggyback off of what Councilman Lawson said, we will continue with the next 3 series. However, I wanted to encourage everyone to go to my page at Officially Issa on Facebook and Instagram, and I give comments or I give suggestions, I give skills that I teach my clients. I just put them on there for everyone to have access to it. You can also DM me with any questions that you have, and I can answer you personally. However, any questions you have mental health related, I just wanted to be accessible to you guys, so just you guys can know where to find me, which is officially Issa. So I just want to end it with a prayer for whomever wants to, would you? Because the love in the building was real tonight, and I really appreciate everyone from my panelists, Councilman Lawson, and everyone who took the time out to come here tonight. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Come on, Pastor. I'm going to introduce you. Thank you. Thank y'all once again for hosting. Thank y'all so much for coming. I got to pass the mic. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you for your support.
I appreciate all of y'all. Thank you for inviting me. Lord.
It's a pleasure. Thank y'all for coming out, everybody. Please continue to come out. Encourage your youth to do so. I'll let you pray. Please bless you.
Yes, sir. God bless y'all. I didn't know y'all had somebody at first. I was just ready. But I'm so enlightened and I'm so empowered. Thank y'all. Thank all of you for what you're doing, for letting God use you. God is doing some great things. Before I pray, say this for me. We must act, acknowledge, change, try. Because we want to go with Jesus when we die. But we already died a long time ago, so we're going to live. Amen. Father God, we thank you for each and every one here tonight. We thank you for all hearts and minds are clear. We thank you for acceptance, and we thank you for healing. We thank you, Lord, for just keeping us all and delivering us from our mind, from the activities of our minds that go on outside of us. Lord, we thank you for the inward peace aligned with grace. And we just thank you, Lord, for our families, those that are abroad. And Lord, we just thank you for being advocates, and we thank you for being action-minded. And we thank you for giving us the strength to understand we can't do anything without you. Until we can't call your name no more down here, we want to praise you forever over there. Amen.
So everybody, again, please just look out for the post that's going to be coming out. I want to thank everybody for coming. Please, we have some refreshments outside if you can. If you could just take a plate home with you. We don't want to take any of the food home. But thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll be posting the next series very soon, okay?